So, welcome to this auspicious occasion of the conferment upon Mr. David Michael Rudder, the Order of the Caribbean Community, which is the highest award granted by the regional body CARICOM. Today, many of you may know, is a special in Port of Spain, as Mr. Rudder could not have been present when the awards were presented at the 43rd Conference of Heads of Government in Paramaribo, Suriname last month, when 3 other awardees were conferred the Order of the Caribbean Community, namely His Excellency Irwin LaRocque, former Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, Sir Vivian Richards, cricketer, and Dame Billy Miller, former Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister of Barbados. So the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is proud and happy to host this ceremony today. Some of you may not know that Mr. Rudder is the second calypso artist to be conferred with the Order of the Caribbean Community, the first being Slinger Francisco, known professionally as the Mighty Sparrow. 6 other TNT nationals have received the award in the 35 years since the Order of the Caribbean Community was initiated in 1987. They are William Damas, His Excellency Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson, Lloyd Best, His Excellency Sir Irwin Carrington, Mr. Brian Lara, and Mr. Kamaluddin Mohammed. Now, this award is conferred upon nationals of the Caribbean whose contributions to the development of the region are considered to be outstanding. And if I may note some ways in which I think Mr. Rudder has been outstanding, are as follows. His rally around the West Indies has become a regional anthem of hope, celebration, and unity across ethnic, political, and geographical boundaries. His Haiti has brought the consciousness of the international community to Haiti's role in the emancipation story. His rally around the West Indies has become a regional anthem of hope, celebration, and unity, as I said. In his Bahia Girl, one line is critical and fundamental. Ile Ife, she make me to understand. It links the African spirituality that manifests in Brazil to the Santeria in Cuba and in the Yoruba in Trinidad, the Ifa Orisha tradition that spread throughout the African diaspora. He has single-handedly chronicled the root and development of Pan and Calypso, rooted in the history and enslavement and in that whole ethos. And as a human being, he stands as someone who has conquered disability and reached the heights of heights. Now, I listened today to an Olympian being interviewed on the radio, and she said, when an Olympian athlete hears the national anthem, they feel it is for them and for their country. And in that regard, let us stand for our national anthem.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this this our native land, we pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Thank you. You may be seated. Now, just so you know, the Order of the Caribbean Community represents the highest award in the region and is bestowed with great pride and joy. The Order of the Caribbean Community members enjoy a number of privileges and entitlements, including the award confers the styling of the Honorable upon the recipient, as well as post-nominals, OCC. So we are very pleased today to be conferring on Mr. David Rudder. We now invite remarks from the Assistant Secretary General, Human and Social Development of the Caribbean Community, Ms. Allison Drayton. But before we do that, we'd invite an invocation.
The peace of God the Father be with you. Let us pray. Gracious and almighty God, the Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer of life, we crave your presence as we gather in this space and place to celebrate the gift of life in all its fullness. We acknowledge that human beings are created in your image and likeness, and our hearts are restless until we find you. We acknowledge the many gifts and graces that you have bestowed upon us, and we believe that you are especially pleased when we use those gifts to honor you and to help us make sense of the world around us. This afternoon, gracious God, we are happy for the way in which one of your sons has used the gift of music to enhance the consciousness of the people of the world in general and the Caribbean in particular. Gracious God, the music of our brother David has gone global, and we thank you for his prophetic voice as he has been able to deal with local, regional, and international issues in such a creative way through the genre of calypso with its pulsating beat and invigorating rhythms that minister to us way down inside our souls. May this function in which the conferment of the Order of the Caribbean and our brother David be a memorable one for him and for us. We ask that he will acknowledge his role as one of the Caribbean's ambassadors and continue to be humble as he wears the mantle of cultural icon. May this conferment inspire others to keep the faith and hold the cause of honesty, faithfulness, and integrity. So now, O God, we commend this exercise to you and all that will take place at this function and this ceremony. These and all other mercies we pray in and through the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, your Messiah. So be it. Amen.
And now, we have some remarks from the Assistant Secretary General, Human and Social Development of the Caribbean Community, Allison Drayton.
Good afternoon, everyone. Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Bridget Anisette George. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Trinidad and Tobago, Senator, the Honorable Dr. Amory Brown. Honorable Ministers, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Your Excellencies, Head of Diplomatic Missions and other members of the Diplomatic Corps, other esteemed guests, most particularly Mr. David Michael Rudder, whom we are here to honor today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome you on behalf of the Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, to the conferment of the Order of the Caribbean Community in honor of Mr. David Rudder, a renowned Calypsonian in the region and diaspora who hails from this beautiful country. The Order of the Caribbean Community was inaugurated by the 12th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community in 1991. It is aimed at recognizing nationals of member states of the community who have made exceptional contributions to the development of the Caribbean region, and I would say to the global recognition of the Caribbean region as a place that births remarkable people in arts, in science, and in many other areas. Well, coming out of Jamaica, recently I have to also acknowledge, and athletes. There is no doubt in my mind, and I can confidently say the same for this region, our region, that David Rudder's contribution to this genre of musical expression is extraordinary. His quintessentially Caribbean rhythms, lyrics, and music have inspired the global imagination and brought international acclaim to our region in music and culture. Mr. Rudder, you have blazed the trail for many young artists to follow and have contributed to the development of a rapidly growing creative economy in our region through your commitment and consistency in producing excellent compositions. Not only are you a living hero to many of us, as one of my colleagues noted on the drive here, but I am sure that every one of us has become Trini to the bone when listening to your lyrics. Mr. Rudder's stellar contributions were already celebrated by the heads of government during the opening ceremony of the 43rd regular meeting of the Conference of Heads convened on Sunday, the 3rd of July, 2022 in Paramaribo, Suriname. But today, it is an honor to have him in person to receive this esteemed award. Mr. Rudder is one of the 4 awardees who will join the elite group of outstanding CARICOM nationals who have made sterling contributions to the development of our community. And I know without doubt that he will continue to inspire our Caribbean civilization for generations to come. The Secretariat wishes to express gratitude to the government of Trinidad and Tobago for hosting this event. I also want to thank specifically the Prime Minister, Dr. Honorable Keith Rowley, who, had health permitted, would have been here to confer personally the order on Mr. Rudder. Thank you all for joining us as we celebrate Mr. David Rudder, our guest of honor on this landmark occasion. Please accept the Secretary General's profound regrets for not being able to be here with us as well. Thank you.
In a way, we are slightly lucky that Mr. Rudder was not able to attend the meeting in Suriname, so that now we can actually witness the conferment in Port of Spain. We now have some remarks from the Chairman of the Conference of Heads of Government and President of the Republic of Suriname, His Excellency Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, in a pre-recorded message.
Raise your voices high.
Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Keith Rowley, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and CARICOM Affairs, Honorable Dr. Amory Brown and other members of the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, CARICOM Assistant Secretary General, Human and Social Development, Allison Drayton, distinguished Honorary Mr. David Rudder, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I regret not being there in person to confer the community's highest award on Mr. David Rudder. I have, however, requested that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Keith Rowley, bestow you with the award on my behalf. I had the distinct honor at the opening ceremony of the 43rd regular meeting of the Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community in Suriname to confer the community's highest award of the Order of the Caribbean Community, OCC, on 3 of its outstanding citizens: the Honorable Dame Billy Biller, OCC, the Honorable Sir Vivian Richards, OCC, and the Honorable Ambassador Irwin LaRocque, OCC. It would have been my pleasure to welcome you to Suriname, Mr. Rudder, but unfortunately, your schedule did not permit you to visit our beautiful country and to receive your award. The honoring and conferral of this award is granted to nationals of member states of the Caribbean community who have a record of outstanding service and contributions to the political, social, and cultural development of the region. It is so prestigious that only 15 living awardees can hold the award at any one time. Mr. Rudder, your excellence in the cultural sphere is well recognized in a field that has been synonymous with the Caribbean for decades. Calypso, as you eloquently express in one of your songs, is a living vibration rooted deep within the Caribbean belly. With this deserved recognition, you join your fellow Calypsonian, the Honorable Stringer Francisco, OCC, the Mighty Sparrow, as a recipient of the community's highest honor. Mr. David Rudder, as chairman of the Caribbean community, it is my honor and pleasure to confer upon you the community's highest award, the Order of the Caribbean Community. Congratulations, I thank you, and God bless you.
Raise your voices high.
As I said before, not only does the award confer the styling on the recipient of the Honorable, but members of the Order are also accorded the privilege of free movement among member states of the community and are issued with a travel document which is assigned a similar status to a diplomatic passport. And the recipient also gets the right to reside in and be gainfully employed in any member state, as well as a right to acquire and dispose of property as would citizens of member states. So before the great moment, we now pause for a musical interlude. Thank you very much. In a way, I felt like Jerome Richards there. He wanted the anthem in Pan, and we got Rudder's anthems in Pan. Thank you very much. Now we are getting closer to the moment. We now have the reading of the citation by the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs of Trinidad and Tobago, Senator the Honorable Dr. Amory Brown.
Our guest of honor this evening, Mr. David Michael Rudder, the Most Honorable Bridget Anisette George, Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, hardworking members of the Cabinet of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, fellow ministers, members of Parliament, Ms. Allison Drayton, Assistant Secretary General, Human and Social Development of the Caribbean Community, Ms. Rita Toussaint, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Your Excellencies, heads of diplomatic missions and members of the Diplomatic Corps who've come out in strength to honor our proud son of the soil. Distinguished guests, our Calypsonians and the artists of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean community, panmen and other cultural experts, the magnificent Republic Bank Exodus Steel Orchestra, Mr. Raymond Edwards, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my honor and privilege to read the citation. Can you hear a distant drum bouncing on the laughter of a melody? Does the rhythm tell you to come, 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 come? Does your spirit do a dance to this symphony? Dr. Gordon Roller, respected academic, researcher, and writer on calypso, describes the art form as a mirror that reflects and a lens that either magnifies or reduces the phenomena on which the nation's restless and excitable psyche feeds. Calypso emerged at a particular historical conjuncture in Trinidad and Tobago and was once considered by some to be the province only of those who belonged to a certain class. Today, we have the pleasure of according due recognition and honor to an outstanding calypsonian whose music has delighted the hearts and uplifted the minds of untold millions around the world. This living genius exploded onto the musical and social landscape of Trinidad and Tobago in the late 1970s and early 1980s. And over the decades, it has become pellucidly evident that his talent and his impact have no limits whatsoever. I am proud to say that this master of the art form is one of us. a proud son of Trinidad and Tobago, and a giant of the Caribbean community. From the very first bar, from the very first note, a Rudder song grabs you and it never lets you go. He gave us the anthem that rallies West Indians near and far to this very day. He beseeched us to appreciate our neighbors. He beseeched us to appreciate our neighbors and to empathize with them in their times of struggle. He used calypso music to define calypso music. With his unique and timeless lyrics and melodies, he calls attention to the plight of the common man and conveys the power we wield when we stand up and send a message. He continuously strives to elevate our Caribbean consciousness, and he gave us the key to living harmoniously in a multi-ethnic society. Let you be you, and I'll be me. Let you be you, and I'll be me. Mr. David Michael Rudder is the very definition of a cultural icon, and we have several in this room this evening. His is a name synonymous with Caribbean pride. Pride in the heritage, diversity, and beauty of these peoples inhabiting these islands, or islands, whose shores are washed by the waters of the Caribbean Sea. Born on May 6, 1953, one of 9 children, David Rudder grew up in an area commonly known as Freetown in Belmont, Trinidad. His childhood seemed to map the influences that would guide his conscience and to color his music. He was baptized not once, not twice, but 3 times. As a Baptist by his grandmother, as an Anglican by his mother, and as a Catholic in school. And thus he is amicably called Reverend David Rudder by many of his followers. He lived in close proximity to a pan yard and a shango yard, elements which would be at the foundation of his work. Those vibrations gave us the sound that is distinctly his, the sound that is distinctly him. Indeed, Belmont is the cradle from which many who excelled in the arts originated. Belmont was the incubator, the place where the commingling of diverse influences nurtured gifts that must be acknowledged as divine. David Rudder is the consummate creative, having interest and talent in the visual arts such as painting and sculpture, as well as in performance art. He was an apprentice of the late Ken Morris, a master craftsman known for his copperwork and exquisite carnival designs. David Rudder's musical trajectory can be traced back to his participation in singing competitions at school. From a tender age of 9, he was already able to enthrall audiences, confirming for those who were paying attention that something great was in emergence. Eventually, even those who were not paying attention would find themselves riveted, transported, transformed. In my quiet moments, I like to think that there was something in our souls that was calling to him, and he answered the call. At the age of 11, he went on to sing with a group called The Solutions. In 1977, he joined the pioneering calypso band Charlie's Roots. You remember Charlie's Roots? Originally as a temporary replacement for the great Christopher Tambu Herbert, but then he stayed on as a co-lead singer. In Charlie's Roots, Rudder demonstrated his burgeoning talent both in composing songs and in performing on the stage. While earning a living as an accounts officer at the bus company, Rudder was a very good backup singer in the calypso tent run by Lord Kitchener, who is rightfully proclaimed as one of the grand masters of calypso. Rudder worked behind the scenes in calypso tents and studios year after year. You know the journey. Hard year after year. Before his outstanding 1986. I would say before our outstanding 1986 in Trinidad and Tobago. In that year, his album, The Hammer, smashed its way onto the consciousness of the people of this land. It gave us timeless hits such as The Hammer and Bahia Girl, and enabled him to be the very first artist to capture all the major titles in one year. Young King, Calypso Monarch, Road March King, and amazingly, he had the winning Panorama tune as well in that year. You couldn't hide from him. You couldn't escape him. And you did not want to, because the very good had become great. David Rudder also became known as one of the best dressed, most stylish, and classiest singers of our region. And his stage presence was often amplified by the exquisite African-style tunics that he would select and wear, which were fashioned by local designers. This demonstrated and demonstrates, to this day, his full commitment to the arts in so many diverse aspects. Authentic in every regard, genuine in every respect. He took his gifts up the islands and across the continents. In the year 1992, David Rudder was awarded the Trinidad and Tobago Hummingbird Silver Medal in recognition of his unfailing contributions to uplift the roots of Calypsonian culture. And in 1996, he was appointed as a Goodwill Ambassador of the United Nations Development Program. Through his music, David Rudder has played a most significant role in exporting Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean culture to the wider world. He was also one of the pioneers of soca music, which is a prominent feature of carnivals within our region and across the world as well. The band Charlie's Roots accompanied Peter Minshall's Carnival Band on Carnival Mondays and Tuesdays, and Rudder's music was essential to the unique performances of the masqueraders in those costumes. There are singers that can sweeten the mood, and there are singers that can raise your spirits. Every good DJ knows that if you want to do both at the same time, it's Rudder time. David Michael Rudder is not just a genius performer, but also a master collaborator with others in his field. He has been featured time and time again in countless magazines, journals, and features, such as the British Sunday Observer and Guardian, the Barbados Nation, the Jamaica Gleaner, Germany's Berliner Morgen Post, the Los Angeles Times, Stern Magazine, Cosmopolitan, Billboard Magazine, Class, Ebony Magazine, and Newsweek, just to name a few. He has performed at just about all of the historic venues across North America, Europe, and Japan. His repertoire even transcended the calypso stage into the film industry. He starred in a television drama entitled Sugarcane Arrows, which was a pioneering Trinbagonian drama aired in the United States of America. He also wrote songs for the Hollywood movie Wild Orchid. And aside from winning prestigious awards and being featured in myriad shows and in the print media, David Rudder has been studied by music critics and academics alike. In 2015, he was awarded a Doctor of Letters honoris causa by the University of the West Indies for his outstanding works and contributions to our society. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, my friends, this is just but a snapshot of David Rudder, a man whose music transcends race, class, and culture, an icon who poetically chronicled much of our region's struggles, such as the problems that arose from the World Trade Organization's ruling against the concessions that were formerly offered under the Lomé Convention. Rudder was there. He also immortalized the then immortal West Indies cricket team. He gave them an anthem. He gave us who love West Indies cricket the lyrics and melody of an emotional cauldron. In that one song, you would smile warmly and tears would fill your eyes. Joy, despair, hope, love. He gave us the songs of who we are as Caribbean people. He gave us the songs of our lives. He gave us the songs of what we could be. He gave us the songs of our lives. A living legend who, in one lyrical flow, captures what makes us good, bad, and great. A chemist of the meaningful, who with apparent ease is able to distill and bottle our great Caribbean aspiration and then gift it back to us. Feed us it, pour it upon us, immerse us in it like a baptism every time he hits the stage and every time we press play. David Rudder was given the moniker King David by the mighty sparrow, a fitting connect to the biblical King David's acclaim as the great musician. King David, your contribution has marked us all. Your life's work is enduring. You have given us the songs of our lives. You continue to inspire us, the people of the Caribbean community, to see ourselves for who we are and to reach for what we must become. One of my most joyous moments was when the heads of government of the Caribbean community, CARICOM, approved this recommendation of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the government of Trinidad and Tobago. In keeping with the COVID-19 protocols, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley was not able to be physically present this afternoon, but he has sent to you his love, his admiration, his joy, and his congratulations. It is with great pleasure that the Caribbean community confers on David Michael Rudder its very highest award, the Order of the Caribbean Community. I thank you.
Mr. David Michael Rudder.
Assistant Secretary General, Human and Social Development of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Ms. Allison Drayton, the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Ministers and Members of Cabinet, members of the Diplomatic Corps, other distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. After Amory is finished, I don't know what else I have to say. The lyrics man has no lyrics. At the age of 9, I stepped on the stage at Belmont Boys RC School to sing a song. And I realized at that moment, this was my calling. This is what I was put here to do. The journey was rough, but at the end of the day, as I always tell the young people, it's how you finish the journey. From that early age, I went through the grinder, through the fire, toward the Caribbean, listened to the people of the Caribbean. And 21 years later, I became an overnight success. And I always say that because in this day of the instant gratification, you have to know why your journey is like that. The journey is about learning, nurturing, listening to the people, especially the people on the ground. Listen to their language, listen to the poetry. When people say, you write great poetry, because I listen to the people. The nuts lady has something to say, you know? And I have to pay respects to my first university, better known as Freetown, Belmont. I was in the midst of not just Ken Morris and Jason Griffith, but 7 steel bands, a radar yard up the street, Shango yard above me, Calypsonians, intellectuals. There's a whole portion of Belmont that filled with intellectuals. George Lamming, Derek Walcott, they can tell you. They cut their teeth there in this place we call Belmont today. But this has shaped me in such profound ways. And I always tell young people, listen to the environment, listen to everything around you. Don't have a partition. When I was a great advantage that I had was that when we were growing up, we had 2 radio stations. And all we had to listen to was 610 and Radio Trinidad, whatever they say, whether it's Lata Mangeshkar or El Mundo Ross, or whoever, but it gave me the advantage of listening to the world through that little box in everyone's house. Today you can tune into one station and know nothing else but anything else but that. And that is a problem we're having right now. I always tell young people, listen, pay attention. Every word, every magical moment is a poem. It's a lyric. The way she walks is a lyric. The way he talks is a lyric. And if you falter along the way, always be ready to dust yourself off, because you're young. You can dust yourself off and move on. When you reach to my age, not so sure again. You know? And don't let anything stand in your way. 1 year after I was born, I was afflicted with what they call the disease, polio, which would make a lot of people pull into their shell and never emerge. To me, that was something that inspired me to win, to even be better. And here I am today, after almost 60 years in the business. Still people, when I leave here, I go to London, I come back to Trinidad, I go to the United States, and I'm still busy working because I've planted the seed deeply. So my advice to young people especially, I take this honor on behalf of all the young people. I'll say to them, believe in yourself, and the chant is going to make sense. And then we really have another day, truly another day in paradise. Thank you very much.
And as he takes a seat, I will invite you to give him another round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Rudder, for your years of inspiration. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity to witness this historic occasion. We now invite you for a few refreshments.